Welcome, future lumberjacks. Today we're going to be talking about financing your education, understanding, planning, and financing your journey at NAU. Today we're going to dive into the complex but crucial topic of financial aid. We're going to start off the conversation with an overview of the cost of attendance. Uh, Colleges and universities are required by federal law to budget the average cost of attendance for a full-time student, which is classified as 12 units for one academic year. This budget is known as the cost of attendance, and it covers expenses for both the fall and the spring semesters. Keep in mind that costs can vary for both in-state and out-of-state students. And when we break down the cost of attendance, we have two categories: direct costs and indirect costs. Direct costs are those that you will see on the bill from NAU. These include tuition, fees, housing if you live on campus, meal plans if you're taking a meal plan. If a student's living off campus, then your cost of attendance will include an estimate of what your housing, utilities, and buying food would be living off campus. Indirect costs, on the other hand, are included in the cost of attendance, but they're not going to show up on your NAU bill. They encompass expenses like books, transportation, personal costs. Some examples of transportation are things like gas, air travel, parking passes. It's important to note that the cost of attendance listed on websites encompasses the price before financial aid is applied to your account. So while you may not have control over your direct costs, you do have some influence over your indirect costs. Once financial aid is subtracted from the cost of attendance, we arrive at what we call the net price. The net price is what it costs you to attend NAU after your financial aid has been applied to account. So we take the amount of your cost of attendance, we subtract your financial aid, and your financial aid can include things like grants, scholarships, and loans, and the remaining amount is your net price. Colleges and universities are required to provide the net price calculators on their websites, allowing you to estimate your out-of-pocket expenses. So for example, here at our institution at NAU, you can find NAU's net price calculator on the financial aid website. That's nau.edu/OSFA. I want to next take a few minutes to address some of the myths surrounding financial aid that might lead students to not submit the FAFSA. It's important to note that each family's situation is going to be different from another student or families. Um, some things to keep in mind, for example, are that some external donors require the FAFSA in order to award students their scholarships. You may be eligible for federal and institutional grants, gift aid. You will have eligibility for federally funded low-interest student loans by submitting the FAFSA. And the only cost associated with submitting the FAFSA is your time. For most first-time filers, it can take around 40 minutes to complete the FAFSA. All of those benefits really do outweigh the myths surrounding financial aid. Again, it's worth your time to invest in filling out the FAFSA. Now on to the FAFSA itself. The FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and it is free to complete. It normally opens every year around October for the following academic year, and students can complete the FAFSA at fafsa.gov or studentaid.gov. This academic year, though, the FAFSA opened in late December due to a new and improved FAFSA simplification. Each year that the FAFSA opens up, it'll take into account information about your financial situation for the prior year. This means that for 2025, the FAFSA took into account tax information for the 2022 tax year. This ensures that the FAFSA accurately reflects a family's financial situation based on taxes that have already been filed and, if needed, amended. If you haven't already done so, we really recommend that you complete the FAFSA as soon as possible to unlock any potential financial aid opportunities available to you. We did have a FAFSA priority deadline, May 1st, and that's the deadline in order to be considered and evaluated for institutional grants, gift aid, uh, but we still have those opportunities available. So it is worth your time to submit the FAFSA, see what you're eligible for. before making your decision. All right. Now that we've talked about the cost of attendance and applying for financial aid, let's dive into the types of financial aid that are made available to NAU students. Grants and scholarships fall under the category of gift aid, meaning they don't need to be repaid back. They can come from various sources, including the federal government, state governments, institutions like NAU, or private organizations. But really, what's the difference between all these awards, right? So we're going to break down these by award type. So first, we're going to talk about grants. Grants are typically based on financial need, while scholarships can be awarded for academic achievements, talents, or specific fields of study. There are scholarships for essentially everything. Some scholarship students are automatically reviewed when they apply for admission to NAU. So the NAU Merit Scholarships students are automatically evaluated for. But there are other scholarships students need to actually go out and independently apply for. It's crucial to explore your scholarship opportunities early. And here at NAU, we utilize a tool called Scholarship Universe, which is an invaluable resource that'll match you with scholarships you're eligible to apply for. We'll review Scholarship Universe a little bit later on in this presentation, but I wanted to touch on another opportunity here, which is part-time employment. Federal work study is considered self-help aid, meaning, and loans, sorry. Loans and federal work study are considered self-help aid. Loans do need to be repaid back, and we'll touch on those just a little bit further on in this presentation. But I want to touch just briefly on part-time employment. Students who receive federal work study funding earn the funding by getting part-time employment on campus. And then when they're paid, a portion of their paycheck comes from the federal government. This makes them slightly more appealing to employers who hire federal work study students because about 70% of the student's paycheck comes from the federal government. There are some opportunities to utilize federal work study off campus with some specific employers. It really does vary off campus, but any department on campus can usually hire federal work study students. Those who are not eligible for federal work study can still find student wage positions on campus. And we do recommend that you visit nau.edu/handshake to start building your handshake profile to start looking for those opportunities. When it comes to loans, though, I want to touch on these here in the center column, the federal and private loans. The subsidized loan is the most appealing loan for students as it doesn't accrue interest while the student is in school. After the student graduates or drops below half-time enrollment is when the loan starts accruing interest. And then 6 months after the student graduates, repayments on the loan begins on a monthly basis. The unsubsidized loan does accrue interest immediately after it disperses, meaning that it will accrue interest while you're in school. The Parent Plus loan is a loan available to parents of dependent undergraduate students, and it's a credit-based application process to apply for the Plus loan and be approved to receive it. Private loans are also available to students. Interest rates can vary, and most applications are credit-based as well. Federal loans come in different types, such as the subsidized loan, the unsubsidized loan, and the Parent Plus loan. Again, subsidized loans have their interest paid by the U.S. Department of Education while the student is still enrolled half-time, whereas interest begins accruing immediately on the unsubsidized loan. Another crucial difference between these loans is that the subsidized loan is considered need-based, which means only students who fill out the FAFSA and have federal need as determined by the FAFSA are eligible for the subsidized loan. Parent Plus loans that are loans that are applied for by a parent in a separate application, also at studentaid.gov, and they give the opportunity for additional funding for students to meet their costs. Just like the unsubsidized loan, the Parent Plus loan accrues interest after it's first dispersed to students. Continuing on federal loans, as you'll see, each academic year, the maximum amount that a student can borrow increases over time. Federal loans do have annual loan limits, as I'm listing here. So for freshmen, the annual loan limit would be $5,500. For a sophomore, $6,500, and for a junior, $7,500. Same for a senior. NAU takes really great pride in the fact that a significant percentage of our graduates leave without any debt, and our average debt level is substantially lower than the national average currently. I want to dive a little bit deeper into scholarships now. When students apply to NAU, they're automatically considered for one of our NAU merit scholarships. These are based on your high school achievements alone. So we're looking at your unweighted high school core GPA. The scholarships can include those such as the Dean's Scholarship, President's, our WUI Blue, Gold, and Excellence scholarships, and they apply to those attending the Flagstaff Mountain campus only. They can be renewed for an additional 3 years, so you can receive these scholarships for 4 years total, or 8 semesters. And we evaluate these awards based on your NAU GPA at the end of each academic year. You can find more information about these loans at the QR code here listed on the slide. Um, all of our scholarship eligibility and renewal criteria is located on our website. Last, at NAU, I want to cover the Scholarship Universe tool that we use to match students with scholarships that they're eligible to apply for. Scholarship Universe allows students to log in, create profiles, and answer questions about themselves, again, to be matched with scholarships that they're eligible to apply for. As I mentioned earlier, there are scholarships for almost every single thing you can think of. Um, uh, so by signing in and just answering a few questions about yourself, you might find that you're automatically eligible for several scholarships that you can apply for. Some of these might be NAU scholarships, depending on what time you submit your application, but the vast majority of scholarships on this website are considered external scholarships, also known as private donors. Private donors are those who don't have a direct affiliation with NAU, but will still provide scholarships to NAU students. Um, Again, Scholarship Universe is a platform intended to reduce scholarship search fatigue. So the goal is that by logging in, answering several questions about yourselves, and again, taking the time to invest in your scholarship search will hopefully reduce the amount of searches you need to do on the side for scholarships. Again, simply log in, complete your student profile, and let the system do your searching. There are approximately 10,000 scholarships in this system at any given time. So we really stress that students should be specific when you create your profiles, when you submit your applications and write your essays. And you can find a lot more information about Scholarship Universe here on the QR code we provide here on this slide. In conclusion, navigating college finances can be daunting. There's a lot of information and it can feel really overwhelming when it's all being laid out in front of you. But with some careful planning and utilizing the available resources at hand and staying informed, you can make the best decisions to support your educational journey at NAU. And we're here to help. Using the provided contact information on this slide, please feel free to reach out to us with any additional questions. The Student Service Center is located just next to the NAU bookstore and is available to assist you with any general financial aid questions that you might have. You can also visit us here in in the financial aid office on the North Campus in the historic Gamage building, which is building number 1 on NAU maps. Call 928-523-4951 to set up an in-person or phone appointment with a financial aid advisor, or otherwise feel free to email us or give us a call. Again, thank you so much for attending. I hope I've been able to answer just a few of your questions, if anything. I would accept any questions that you have, and I would love to help you answer any of those questions, if there are any.